Hey guys, so in this lecture what we are going to do is we're going to talk about a meta property in functions, or how to use the meta property of new dot target. But before even we go ahead of ourselves, let me quickly elaborate or explain you what dual purpose of functions is. So in es5 or earlier, functions were served dual purpose of being callable with or without the new keyword. When used with the new keyword, the this value of the function which is inside the function is a new object, and that new object is returned. Let me show you an example. So if you can see this example out here on the screen, which is a person, it's just a small object, or you can say a person. And when you do a new person of Abhay, you get the object as Abhay. And when you do just a person without the new keyword, it's undefined. When you do a console log, of course it prints it out. So that's a very simple code on understanding how you can call a function so that you can instantiate, or this object will be initialized to whatever that function gives you. Now let me go a little more into theory on how things work. So JavaScript has two different internal only methods for functions. One is a call and the other is a construct. So when a function is called without the new keyword, the call method is executed, which is obvious, which means you are calling the function. Now which executes the body of the function. So whenever you have, let's say, add something, multiply something, you call those as a function. Now when a function is called with the new keyword, that's when the construct method is called. And if people who are watching this are familiar with Java or other languages, they already know that the new keyword is used to pretty much instantiate an object of a class. Something similar where you have a construct or a constructor that helps you create that object. Now the construct method is responsible for creating a new object called a new target, and then executing the function body with this set to the new target. Now functions that have a construct method are called constructors, which is very similar to what you see in other languages like Java. Now keep in mind that not all functions may have construct, and therefore not all functions may be called with the new keyword. Now there is an exception, of course. The arrow functions discussed, which is in the coming videos, do not have a construct method, which we will talk in detail when we discuss the arrow functions. Now determining how the function was called, whether it was a call or it was a construct with the new keyword, determining how the function call happened, in ES5 there was a way of identifying that, and let me quickly show you how we do it. We basically use the instance of. So now you have the object. Now inside the object, what we will do is we will just do an if statement where we will try to do the instance of, so this keyword, and then you do an instance of that particular object. So in this scenario it will be a person. Now if the instance is matching, in that case it was pretty much called using the constructor, so you can do the assignment inside out here. Now if it is not the constructor or just a method call, in that case you can just throw a new error and say you must use new with person. Now let's run this, and it gives me, oh, the off has to be the lowercase. Let me change that. So as you can see here, the this value is checked for. If you see here out here, you're checking for the this value as instance of a person. If it is an instance, you just do what the constructor is supposed to do, which is instantiate the object with the name that was passed in. If it is not, you throw an error. Now that is the meaning that it is called, which means it's not initialized with the new keyword. Now unfortunately this approach is not completely reliable, because this can be an instance of the person without using the keyword. Let me show you an example too. So instead of just doing the assignment out here, let me just close this, or probably comment the console log. We don't need this. And I can just do, instead of calling just an object with just person of Abhay, I can just do a person dot call, and now I'm doing a call. And when I'm making the call, I can just pass in the person which I got in the first instance, and I can pass in a new object, let's say John. So this is tricky, because now what will happen is the call, or the person dot call, passes the person variable as the first argument, which means that this is set to a person, which means a person instance altogether inside the person. So that the functions may in no way distinguish the the call, if it's a call or is a constructor call. The same, see, you can see it works right now correctly, and you cannot get an error because you're doing a person call and you're passing this keyword, and it doesn't go into the error. Now to solve this problem, es6 introduces a new dot target metaphor. Let me just quickly close the console so you can see the screen. It introduces new.target meta property. Now, a meta property is a property of a non-object that provides additional information related to its target. So in this scenario, you can say such as new. Now, when a function's construct method is called, the new.target is filled with the target of the new operator. The target is typically the constructor of the newly created object instance that will become this inside the function body. Now, if it is a call is executed, then the new.target is undefined. Now, this new meta property allows you to safely detect if a function is called with a new or by checking whether new.target is defined, as you can see in the example I'll show you. So let's say type, instead of this instance of person, what you can do is you can do a type of, and now you can just do a new.target is not equal to undefined, which means it's an object. So new.target is not equal to undefined. Now if you try to do this, let's go and see the console, and you can see you must use new with a person. You can get the error that you expected. So even if you're making the call the way you had or probably a call, you're still getting the exception because now it's identifying that the target was a call versus a constructor. Now it is not necessary that you always check new.target is not equal to undefined. If you want, you can also compare it to the exact object that you're expecting. Let's say in this scenario, if you're expecting a person, so you can say if this is triple equals to a person, everything will still remain the same. You will still get the same error. So these are just two different implementations on how you can check the target or probably how a function was called, whether it was called using the new keyword or without the new keyword, which means it was a construct call or it was a call. I hope that clarifies a little on how to identify things. Now, just a word of caution that when you try to use new.target, outside of this function, you will probably get an error. So you don't want to do that outside the function, because in that case it will be out of scope and you will not get the correct values. Now, by adding new.target, es6 helped to clarify some ambiguity around function calls. Now, following on the theme, es6 also addresses another previously ambiguous part of language, declaring functions inside of blocks, which we will cover in the next lecture. But however, if you have any questions around, the new.target or the meta property that we talked about, feel free to ask me in the Q&A section or probably in the comments. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'll see you in the next class.